everyone, and welcome back to Don't Open That Door. I am Justin, the specialist in underwater philosophy.
Hey, my name's Nico, and I run the waterworks around here, you know what I'm saying?
And I'm Dan, the electrical engineer.
And we're about to take a deep dive today because we're reviewing Underwater, directed by William Eubank. We've got Kristen Stewart as Nora Price, Jessica Henwick, who you might recognize from Iron Fist, as Emily Haversham. We have Mamadou Athie, he's from PG County, DMV represent, as Rodrigo Nagenda. And we have Vincent Cassell as W. Lucien. Yeah, he's just got a first initial. He's that badass. He's the captain of this movie. Sorry, of the crew. So we open the movie with Nora. So she's a mechanical engineer, completely different to our Dan, who is an electrical engineer. And she works at an underwater drilling station called the Kepler Station. So they're all the way at the bottom of the ocean. Now, one day when she's just kind of monologuing and brushing her teeth, part of the facility has a pressure failure. So it's kind of a really cool scene where, the walls start to collapse inwards. And she and one of the divers at the station, Rodrigo, they barely managed to escape before the entire section of that station just folds in on itself. So Nico, what happens after that?
So right after that, they make their way to the control room, and they end up meeting with a couple other crew members. The captain, W. Lucien, his first name is W, but he takes the L later, reveals that he managed to evacuate the crew, but there are no more pods. So they hatch a plan to go to the bottom of the ocean on the seafloor, and I believe they're somewhere near the Marianas Trench, are they not?
I think so.
Yeah.
Possibly,
if not
yes.
in it, then somewhere near it, although that might have just been window dressing for the intro. At any rate, their plan is to walk along the seafloor, go through a tunnel, and then eventually reach another facility of theirs, the Roebuck Station. However, they get a transmission from Roebuck and hear some unusual growls, which is to say any kind of growls that you would hear underwater. It's not a good situation.
Definitely not. What happens, Dan, next?
So they descend down into the lower levels to go to the tunnel, and they're going down into the water, and Rodrigo ends up catching a brutal death. As they get underwater and the pressure is building up, his helmet cracks, and he just sort of explodes from all the pressure. It's pretty brutal.
That's crazy.
So eventually the crew find a creature, a small little squid lake almost, or long narrow, I don't know what quite
baby
called
thing,
squid. Yeah. And they can't determine what it is because, even though I kind of described it as a squid, it still is like a new species kind of thing. So they keep descending, and then they get attacked by a larger and more terrifying version of that creature. And it kind of looks like if you're familiar with cosmic horror, Lovecraftian kind of stuff, it looks like a deep one from Innsmouth kind of thing. Very underwater, demonic looking kind of thing. Yeah, so they get pretty terrified.
So what happens after they get attacked by this creature?
So they do make their way to the midway point, and the creature, unfortunately, follows them into a tunnel, and our comic relief character, Paul, is offed. The remainder of the crew... Yeah. Can you tell who Justin doesn't like? The remainder of the crew, they do make their way out, and the captain and Nora are unfortunately attacked, and they're tethered together. And as they're going up and they're ascending, the pressure's really starting to get to them. And the captain, W. fucking Lucien, this mad lad, he lets Nora go and sacrifices himself. And there is a pretty fucking cool explosion as he takes both himself and the other monster out.
Yeah.
What follows that?
So Nora is kind of wandering around lost by herself for a little bit, and she ends up stumbling on the abandoned station, or an abandoned station. And she kind of goes there, takes a quick little breather, gets a better suit, and ends up kind of venturing back out. And she meets back up with the two surviving crew members, who are Emily and Liam. They try to make their way back to this Roebuck station. And right before they get there, they're literally on the bridge kind of thing going to the entrance. They get attacked by these creatures again, and then Nora shoots this big flare off in the distance, and you end up seeing the big C word. You see Cthulhu, or at least a very Cthulhu-like creature, this huge, massive thing. So they start running in. They end up getting into the Roebuck station, and they get to the escape pods, but only 2 are working, and there are 3 people. So Nora decides to let the other two escape because one thing we didn't really mention is Emily and Liam have a thing for each other. So she lets the two of them escape. And then she detonates and blows up the station in order to take out the Cthulhu and these other little monsters that were chasing the escape pods. So she hopefully saves them and sacrifices herself.
So we actually do see as well that at the end credits scene, Liam and Emily did make it out because we see like newspaper clippings that they were saved. But we also see newspaper clippings that say the parent company, they kind of really never told anybody what happened. They blocked anyone from interviewing the two surviving crew members. And they basically just fix up the stations and they're going to start drilling again. And that's really where the movie closes. So I guess to kick things off here, let's start with the visuals. So a large portion of this movie is kind of shot.
If you say underwater, I swear to God.
There's a ton of visuals that are from a wetter perspective.
Okay.
Dan, what did you think about this wet ass cinematography?
I thought it was pretty wet, bro. Like it was pretty slick.
Podcast is over.
It looked pretty good. I actually liked it quite a bit. It looked very realistic to me, and not that I've ever really been at the bottom of the ocean before, but it all looked very believable. And I'm sure like a vast majority of it was probably CG, but it didn't really look very much like CG to me. I thought it was quite well done, actually.
Agreed. And I like that word believable because sometimes I don't think everything has to be necessarily like realistic. I'm sure if you're, a real kind of specialist in these matters, you might, the bubbles wouldn't actually work like that. You know what? Like it's believable to the layman. And I think that's where this movie excels for me. Nico, how'd you feel about it?
Dude, as I was watching this, I was just thinking to myself, how the fuck did they film this? Because like even the scenes when they're outside are particularly stunning. The particle effects in the water, the lighting, the way it all diffuses and looks murky. Like the fact that I'm praising something looking murky might sound odd, but it does. It looks so realistic and believably just oppressively dark and claustrophobic. Combining that with this sort of like sci-fi color palette that has some nice little flashes every now and again and some frankly just really well done cinematography considering the scale, and this is a very visually impressive movie, I think.
Okay. I mean, I would certainly agree with that.
Monsters look cool as shit too.
Yeah, they did.
Yes. And that was one thing I wanted to talk about a little bit, the creature design. I thought the creature design was badass.
It was so fucking cool.
And we'll talk about the big C later on. But in terms of the smaller monsters, I thought they looked like, especially the little kind of squid monster they find at the start. Not really a squid, but don't know how else to describe it. That, they poked at it, they could pull at it. Like that wasn't really like CG. They had like an animatronic there. That looked really cool to me.
It was also cool the way that the creatures moved and the physics made sense for being underwater. And then another thing, like near the very end, before Nora blows the whole shit up, she gets attacked by one of the like medium-sized ones, and it is fucking her shit up. I mean, it like slams her into the ground multiple times, and it was really cool because it was very agile in the water. Like it didn't seem like it was underwater, and I mean that in a good way because like the way they move, I don't really know how to describe it. I mean, you could tell they were underwater, but they were much more agile than like humans are underwater and things. And it was just a really cool, like the physics of these creatures, I think was really cool.
No, certainly. And I think as well, there's a scene where they're like attacking the glass, and the way they attack and then they like push off of the glass to gain momentum to spin back around and attack the glass again. Like that is so cool that they thought of that effect, like, because when you're underwater, you can't just like go forward and backward like that. Like you have to move in like in a flowing motion, like your momentum takes you. So I thought that was really cool. Now swapping over to the audio here, I will say a lot of this movie is kind of bereft of a real soundtrack or score. Definitely more minimal in spots. From my perspective, I thought, again, I loved the sound effects, the water effects particularly, which there's a lot of obviously given the name of this movie, but I sincerely liked it a lot. But Dan, I'll go ahead and defer to your opinion. What do you think?
No, this is another place where I think it was very believable and realistic. Well, maybe not totally realistic, obviously, but believable.
Hopefully not.
And just like, anytime they were out in the open water, it sounded like they're underwater. You know, they put a low pass on like all the audio, so it there was no high frequency content there, so it was just very underwater sounding, and all the effects. There was a ton of like booms and things like that really filled up that low end space, and it was really cool. And another kind of side effect to that, a lot of it that I noticed in this was it was very clear and easy to understand what people were saying.
Yes.
Because there was no other frequency content there in the soundtrack and everything to take up the space of the voice. So the voice is cut through very easily, and there was never a time in this whole movie where I was like, oh, what did they say? Because everything was like cut out in those frequencies and like underwater, it was just so easy to hear people talk, which I thought was a really cool side effect.
All right. Nico, do you have any thoughts as to the audio that we haven't said?
So actually, yeah, there were a couple scenes towards the latter half of the movie where I thought the score was fucking rad. They had some like banging synths and some like Stranger Things-esque kind of drones going in the background. This is more towards the part of the movie where like shit's getting more progressively fucked up, and you know, like the movie's like playing its hand, and there's more fantastic stuff, and to, you know, fit with that, it's less of the sort of atmosphere. And I thought that the scenes where they do finally add some real music, it was just really fucking rad. But apart from that, I'd like to echo what you guys said. It sounded really good.
All right, and I agree with you, Nico. I did kind of gloss over a little bit the one or two scenes where they did have like a little bit of score to it, particularly when Nora is kind of recovering herself at that abandoned station.
Yeah.
So I guess let's go ahead now and just take a quick track over to the characters. We'll talk about Nora in a little bit because she is in some ways reminiscent of someone from the past. But for right now, let's go ahead and say this. Out of all the characters in the crew, who was your favorite? Like who stuck with you the most, and who did you hate the most? So I'll go ahead and start with you, Nico. Who was your favorite character in this bunch?
Even though I joke about it, or have joked about it a lot so far this episode, I really did like the captain. I thought that he behaved very captainly. Is that a word? I should know this. He behaved in a really just kind and fair manner, and he took shit seriously. My least favorite character, even though I didn't dislike him as much as you, was probably Paul.
Yeah, Paul, TJ Miller's character. What didn't you like about him?
He was a TJ Miller character.
Okay. I think that's completely fair, and I'll elaborate on that a little bit. Dan, who's your favorite and least favorite?
So my favorite was Emily, because I thought her character was very real. She's not the hero. She's very scared and can be timid sometimes and things, and has like one or two panic attacks. But I thought that fit her character really well because she's a research assistant, and it seems like she's very new to being down there. Whereas all the other characters seem to be pretty seasoned, have been underwater for a while anyways. So I thought her character progression was pretty cool. And like at the point where Nora is on her own for a while, then comes back and finds them again, she's like, Emily's in the middle of having like a straight up panic attack, and Nora has to calm her down. And then that was a
great scene.
Yeah. And then they kind of get through that part. And then when Nora's getting fucked up by the creature, Emily comes back and saves her. And I think there's a little bit of character development through the end there and growth of her character.
For sure.
And then my least favorite character, I'm going to have to agree with both of you, is Paul.
Well, I don't know how you would know how I felt because I haven't said anything yet.
Oh, yeah, okay. You only said good when he died.
True.
Multiple times.
So I will say this. First off, Nico, you and I are in agreement. I think my favorite character is the captain, Mr. W. And I say that because you're right. And I almost feel like he has this aura about him. So he's able to efficiently direct people to do the task at hand.
Yes.
Like when people are freaking out about something or panicking, he's like,
That's true.
This is what we
He's
have
a
to
good
do.
captain.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Like that is the leader you want. He is the leader. Like not just in name. And he even said that like at the start of the movie, he's like, I got 22 people into escape pods.
He saved lives. He saved fucking lives.
And they were like, well, why didn't you go? And he was like, I'm the captain. I can't go. And like, he wouldn't leave until he had no choice, which was pretty heroic of him. And also, and it's so cool. I love the interplay between him and Nora because it is almost, but not quite like a father-daughter relationship.
Close, yeah.
I thought the same, yeah.
Not quite. And like at first, like with the first time I watched this movie for like the first little bit, at first I wasn't sure how to interpret that kind of energy between the two of them. I was like, is there some kind of, like unresolved tension here? But then no, like it's much more close to like a bond that you would have with like an older, like an older sibling or like a father figure or something like that.
Yeah.
Because up to that point, Nora's character is kind of like, just focus on the task. Don't talk too much. Like, get the job done.
Which is fair. It's not a bad thing.
It is. But then like when she meets the captain, she kind of opens up and spills and is a little more vulnerable with him. And, the captain knows exactly how to treat her to get her to like, feel a little bit better. So I really like the interplay between those two characters. But yes, the captain was my favorite. My least favorite was Paul, TJ Miller's character, because I'm going to choose my words carefully here, but I just fucking hated him. Because he like...
Fuck, man!
No, because he was there and multiple times he broke like the tension in a way that I didn't appreciate.
He did fuck around a lot and fake being in trouble.
Yeah, like come on, bro. And like literally, I'll tell you when I didn't like him. The very first quote we hear from this dude is like, like Nora's over here saving him and he's like, Nora, you flat-chested elven creature, you.
Yeah, that was weird.
I'm like, bro.
That was weird.
Bro. Like, come on, man. Like, not even on some white knight shit. Just like, bro, come on, man. Like, really? So like, nah, I didn't fuck with him really too much. And I was glad when he died. I was super glad when he died because he was actually like taking steps to redeeming himself. Because when shit was going down, he was like, fuck it, I'm in, right? And I was like, I got to be careful not to let myself like this guy too much.
Gotta kill him before I start.
Yeah, so I'm glad he died. So we do have to talk about the hero in the room. There have been some comparisons drawn between Nora, who is obviously Kristen Stewart's character, and Ripley. Yes, that Ripley from Alien. And that the two of them, maybe have some traits in common. So I will say, aside from the fact that they're both women and they both take a leading role in a horror movie, do you see any comparisons between the two, really?
Fuck yeah. Like, in particular, the opening fucking scene, I feel like was a direct goddamn reference to Alien because you think about how in Alien there's a scene where, they break quarantine and shit gets fucked. And Nora makes the decision to close the bulkheads. And tragically, the unnamed characters that we don't even really see clearly do die in a brutal fucking fashion. But she and Rodrigo live to see a few more hours. And she made the right decision there. She is very calm, cool, and collected. And she has a very almost like calmingly assertive presence, very much sort of like interplaying with her relationship with the captain. And I definitely see the comparison there.
All right, Dan, we'll shift focus to you here.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that they're very similar characters, both very, of course, strong female lead. Like Nico had said, calmingly assertive. I think she could be the captain if the captain wasn't the captain.
Yeah.
And, people gravitate towards her and follow her example and everything. So I definitely see comparisons, absolutely.
So that's interesting because I do see some similarities between the two of them. However, the one thing that where I draw the line is I think that Ripley is a little more
emotive. Because
yes.
she is.
I think she is a little more emotive, but I also think she's, how do I put this? I think she is also a little more like passionate.
Oh, definitely.
And she's a little more human at times. Because, we see Ripley, like Ripley's, to just borrow a phrase, like Ripley's one of the lads. Like she cracks jokes with the rest of them when the time is there for that. She, she's super intelligent, as is Nora. I almost feel like this. Ripley to me is more of a fighter where Nora might be more of a philosopher.
Interesting. Okay.
Because I see Nora as the kind of person who maybe holds her cards a little bit closer to her chest. She's a little more cool and calm, still assertive, but a little more cool and calm. She's kind of like when you like create a character in like a video game, you get the choice to pick like the voice, and one of the voices is like cool or calm. Like
Ripley's option 1, Nora's option 2.
Yeah, like Ripley is like fiery and Nora's like calm. So, I mean, that's how I feel about it. And I will say, I sincerely, and it was so close, because if the captain wasn't such a boss, I'd have picked Nora.
She was my second favorite character too.
Yeah, like she's
Yeah,
really
sure.
cool. I appreciate her philosophical musings and her decision making as to why she lets the other two go when she's like, yeah, because she had a fiance who used to work on the same drilling rig, and her fiance died. And she's like, I would give anything for a moment more with Sam. And like the story is there. You see her, and she so easily, maybe not easily, but she makes the decisions that she needs to make. So I got respect. I got respect for her. Before we get too away from the point, Kristen Stewart's acting and her being Nora, since we're on the topic already, she's got some flack in the past for maybe not being very emotive in some of her roles. Personally, I think she gets a lot of unwarranted hate going back to the Twilight days.
Agreed.
But in this movie, to be brutally honest with anyone, I think she did a good job. I mean, even going and, checking out like some review websites, Reddit, stuff like that, everyone's like calling her dead inside. And I'm like, I don't think so. Like, I think y'all are just being some haters right now.
Agreed.
Dan?
I think she did a great job acting, and I think Nora as a character, dead inside is way too strong of a term, but I mean, her character is a little bit more muted than some others, but I think given her the backstory that we know about her, I think that fits her character. Like, she shouldn't be super energetic and everything, so I think her acting was like perfect for Nora.
Agreed. So in short, haters be gone.
Fuck y'all.
Because she did fuck y'all. She did damn good. Pacing. So Dan, how'd you feel the pacing of this movie went?
I liked it. I was not expecting to get that real that quick.
Dude, fucking right. Holy shit.
I thought we were going to have 15, 20 minutes of like, hey, we're under 6 miles of water and we're chilling here for a little
Nope,
bit.
shit's fucked. Get out right now.
Within, 2 minutes or something, it's like, all right, well, the whole thing's, not exploding, but caving in and everything, we're fucked. And then from there, it just kind of keeps going. And there are sort of pockets of it letting up, like when Nora goes off on her own and is in the other spot by herself for a minute, like she kind of takes a breather. And there's a couple little pockets of that here and there. I think those are good pockets. Like
Agreed.
they give you as the viewer a brief little respite.
I couldn't agree more. The only thing that I will say is that the pacing informs a lot of the acting. And that's really the thing here. Like, it starts off with quite a fucking bang. I was not expecting it. But, the main character trait that Nora displays, I would say, is bravery, because shit is so fucked so quickly. Like, she's doing what she has to do. And I think that the people who are, not to like completely jump back to our previous point, but I think that a lot of people don't put themselves in the mindset of these characters in any horror movie. Like, if someone is stoic, that means they're probably just trying their fucking best. And I think, considering the breakneck speed at which shit gets fucked and gets even more progressively fucked, like, I think that it fits perfectly. That it was just a roller coaster underwater. It was great. It was great.
Agreed. I thought that, I echo exactly what you guys are saying here. And the thing is, the movie's runtime is not exceptionally short. I believe it's an hour and 35 or 36 minutes long.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like that.
And it was cool. Like, at first they don't know why all this stuff is happening. So I thought that pacing of what's going on was great too. Of first it's like, oh, is this an earthquake or something? And then you see like this weird creature, and then there's just enough time of what the fuck was that creature? And then you see the real creatures, the mid-sized creatures, and you're like, oh shit. And you see those for a while, and then all of a sudden you get the Cthulhu like thing. And I thought that pacing and that progression there was really cool too. And there was never too long of, well, what is causing this? But it didn't happen too quickly either, if that makes sense.
No, that makes absolute sense. So, and I guess kind of shifting gears a little bit here, let's talk about the limits of human exploration. There's a quote from the movie, like, I believe it comes from Emily, when she's like, we shouldn't be here. Like, we've come too far. We took too much. And kind of talking about humans pushing the boundaries, and now we've come up against something that we weren't ready for. How do you guys feel about that? I'll start with you, Dan.
I like that quite a bit, because two of the most fascinating and simultaneously terrifying things to me are the deep ocean and space.
Fuck yes.
And it's just so fascinating, but just unfathomable. There's a word I can't say
Unfathomably.
Unfathomably, like, huge.
Fitting choice, by the way.
And it's just, I don't know. And I hope not on our planet anyways, but I do believe that at least in space, like, I feel like humans aren't supposed to go too far. Eventually we're going to come to like exploring somewhere where we're not supposed to be. And I don't know, again, hopefully not on our own planet, but I don't know, man. And that whole concept, that sort of almost existential concept is just really awesome to me.
I'll say this, man. In terms of what you were talking about with space, it's crazy, but we know more about space than we do the ocean.
I'm glad you said that because I was going to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said that because I knew Nico was going to, and I needed to steal any kind of recognition or shine from him. But
I mean, that's fair. It's reverse colonialism in effect, folks.
there you go. So, I mean, it's one of those things where if I had to bring up stuff I'm afraid of, it's honestly, you're right, Dan, like the deep ocean. Like there is something just, and I'm so fascinated whenever like the BBC or something like that does those like those animal. Dan, remember the one time me and you watched that one?
Blue Planet, or was it?
Yeah,
Blue
it's like Planet Earth, like the deep ocean.
Yeah.
And they went like all the way down to the bottom, and like, dude, the life down there is fucking alien, dude. Those are aliens.
They really
down
are.
there.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Like, it's so crazy. And so, yeah, I think that mixed well with the whole mythos of Cthulhu and the monster. We'll get to that in just a second. But Nico, I wanted to touch on that as well with you. The limits of exploration. Did we go too far?
I'm gonna be yes, but I'm glad that they handled it in a way that wasn't like super fucking cheesy about like, and then after the event, Mother Nature healed and we learned that humans shouldn't mess with the earth. Like, I'm glad that it wasn't some sort of cheesy, like, I don't even know what to call that, but just like cliched, like Mother Earth sort of like retaking control of the world. I'm really glad they didn't do that. But yeah, no, I also share those fears. And I just got to say, like, James Cameron, you have some balls of fucking steel for going into the Marianas Trench by yourself, you goddamn maniac.
Look, man, I ain't gonna back this man. I don't know what he's been up to down there. I don't know who he's been talking to down there. So let's keep it real, because let's now shift our focus a little bit. How'd you guys feel about that ending? So here's the truth, right? I know that the director took inspiration from Cthulhu for that.
Certainly.
And the Lovecraftian and cosmic horror mythos in general. But I mean, we saw the creature get hit by kind of like a nuclear blast type thing. I know there's been people who said that, nah, that didn't kill it. Some people think it did. I know there's been differing accounts. Some people say, oh, the director said this. The director said it lived. The director said it died. So we don't know. Truth is, we don't know. I just think that there really could be some shit like that down there. Like, fuck your science, things that big couldn't exist because the pressure would kill them. Where's the food source? Nah, fuck all that, bro. It lives on water. How about that? So I just thought that ending was so good, man. And you don't think of it. Like, the first time you watch this movie, and I walked in blind. Like, I didn't know anything about the movie. It was so cool. It was just so cool to see. And when they first got attacked by the creatures, I was like, oh shit. And then when they saw the final reveal, I was like, oh, like, I was so hyped. Nico, how'd you feel?
I will say, man, like, given that, we are a horror podcast, there isn't a whole lot that really, like, shocks me anymore. And there were quite a few times in this movie, and obviously towards the end, where I was just like, oh, fuck. Like, my roommate even heard me, like, just reacting very loudly and viscerally. And the thing that I like about the ending is I think this is another sort of, like, nod and wink towards Alien. Because if you think about it, things sort of go similarly with the Nostromo and the Weyland-Yutani Corporation in that movie. So I think that is not only a good reference to Alien, but also realistic, because capitalism is hell.
Yeah.
Is Cthulhu a capitalist?
I mean, no. In this case, he would be more of like, Cthulhu.
So, well, speaking of Cthulhu, I have another C word for you guys. Conspiracy. And another one, cult. Because I think there's a cult conspiracy running through this movie. So I will present my pieces of evidence, and then Nico will shoot them down. So Basically, at the start of the movie, and I'll point them out in order, kind of when they happen. At the beginning of the movie, Emily, when she's putting on her diving suit as they're getting ready to descend into the tunnel, she sees kind of like a, I don't know, Dan, is it like a scroll, poster, picture, image, however you want to describe it, of like some kind of religious looking like fish beings and then a bigger being. So that's kind of like the first hint, because what the fuck is that doing in your locker room? Like instead of having pictures of like, I don't know, hot people, whichever, you prefer or whatever you prefer, like, no. Like,
I mean, hey man, I have a poster of Cthulhu in my classroom.
Yeah, that's hot.
But is it in your locker room though? No, it's not.
I mean,
so that's
true.
So that's my point. Like the classroom is for learning. You could learn about Cthulhu.
That's true.
But
that's true.
I don't know, man. It was just a weird image. It was just a weird image to have there. All right. And
hey man.
And like, that was the first piece. The second piece was when they're walking through the tunnels, someone, I believe was Paul, who grabbed an oxygen, like he had grabbed like a piece of the suit that says, "We're all mad down here." That's another thing.
I didn't even catch that one.
Yeah. Third thing, when Nora makes it over to the abandoned base. Now keep in mind, and here's the reason why I think that, they actually talk about going to the base as a stopping point.
They do, but they say it's gone.
Yeah. And he says, the captain says it's gone or it's no longer available or whatever else. NA. But she actually manages to go there. It's fine. Like nothing's really wrong with it. And she finds the captain's old locker and finds out that his daughter had died and he'd kept it a secret. Like he had kept pretending that she was alive, but she died regrettably when she was 14. Secondly, there's a big old cult symbol in the captain's locker. And then below the map in the captain's locker, there's an actual drawing of Cthulhu. These are all kind of, to me, little hints that people knew about the existence of this creature. How deep that cult, if there even is a cult, runs is up for debate, but people definitely knew about the creature.
Do you think that the drilling company knew, which is why they're they're continuing?
I think that's why they covered it up and why they refused any government assistance and why they kept drilling again. Because as well, and here's another part.
Or profit is a motivator.
I mean, I'm sure probably that too, but...
Yeah, but I feel like they would drill elsewhere if Cthulhu was chilling at one of your drill sites. So, and I mean, there's, I guess, another piece where at the start of the movie, they talk about all the different symptoms that people go through when they're like underwater for like extended periods of time. And we're like, yeah, that makes sense. Cause that could really mess with you. But an alternate explanation is this is just them explaining away the symptoms of being near like an eldritch being or being near Cthulhu. And even, Nora at the start of the movie monologues about dreams and reality and the two mixing together and all this stuff. And like, that's some pretty, base level tropes. So that's my thought. I guess I'll lead with you, Dan. Do you put any weight behind that? Am I just putting on my tinfoil hat here?
No, I think you do. I feel like the scene that really did it for me was the first one where Emily sees that poster, because they make a big deal out of that. Or like the camera like zooms in. Yeah. And like, it's not just a passing like, oh, there you happen to see a picture of Cthulhu somewhere or whatever. Like the cinematography makes a big deal out of it. So I think that, I mean, I'm sure that there is some sort of underlying cult kind of thing going on. Obviously, it doesn't, unless there's supposed to be like somewhat related sequels or something, I don't know. But it's obviously not like a major plot point. But I do think that I put stock in that. I think it's true.
All right. Let's go ahead and change over to Nico now. Nico.
It's not that I don't put stock in, it's that I don't put nearly as much, because like the effects that Kristen Stewart's character was talking about at the beginning, where it's like, your day-night cycle is kind of fucked. Like all the things that she was saying, that's straight facts. Like that's what happens when you're underwater. And like, in my opinion, it's not that there might not be a cult. I think it's that, and this might be a budgetary or a production thing. I think they just like, and shit, maybe this was intentional, but like they just dropped enough hints to keep you guessing and thinking about it. And I think it would have been really cool if they explored that more, but I just don't really buy into the whole conspiracy thing so much as it is just like, again, capitalism is hell.
All right, I have a question for you. Why does the captain have a cult symbol and a drawing of Cthulhu?
Oh, no, like, he's definitely got some shady shit going on, but I don't know how you would, like, I'm not denying that. I'm saying, like, I don't know how you would get a cult to operate 7 miles under the water.
you'd all go down there and start doing cult shit.
But he was the only one who was doing it seems like.
See, I would disagree with that because they had the pitcher in the locker room, the oxygen tank that said it. To me, it looked like there could have been more.
And remember, a lot of people have died, so we don't see.
Yeah.
That
most
is true.
of the crew we don't actually see.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
And we only see like 6 characters. And keep in mind, like, we know the captain definitely hasn't been telling the truth about a lot of things. So, but that's just my thought. Just a little, little bit of sauce for y'all to
Get lost in.
Yeah, pretty much. So let's go ahead now and talk about what would you do? So
Die.
Yes, I was going to say that.
Straight up fucking die.
here's the thing. So the 3 of us, oh no, one of the fishmen broke into the facility and killed Paul mercilessly before he even got to leave.
Justin starts applauding.
So that happened. So it's actually the captain, the 3 of us, Nora, and then
Emily.
Liam and Emily.
Okay.
So it's, we're all down there. The 3 of us were actually recording a podcast. So we were up and we managed to escape.
We were committing to the bit by recording underwater.
Yeah. And so we were doing all that and then we managed to escape with the captain. So first off, do you think we would be able to walk across the bottom of the ocean?
Nope.
Wow. I say yes because I don't give up. Okay. I don't gives up.
I guess I would because there's like no other choice. But
Well,
I
know,
would,
man.
but I think that like shit would get fucked very quickly.
you know what I thought they would have though? And they didn't have it. I would have surely thought that they would have had the technology to build like little transport vehicles or something so they could get around the place.
Oh, you're saying like shuttles?
They
They had
do
those like
in the tunnel.
in the facilities, but not between facilities.
Yeah, well, I mean like something that could go out like underwater. Like some James Cameron type
Wait,
shit.
no, I'm pretty sure they did, but the whole system was fucked because we see multiple like rail lines and shit leading to and from Roebuck and shit like that. I think they actually commented on that.
So they do.
Perhaps, yeah, perhaps.
Perhaps. So we aren't able to get one of those. But here's what I think would happen, man, to be real with you. So we'd be fine up until, start going down the ladder, whatever else. And then the first little squid thing comes out and, I'm not going out there. So probably Dan would go out there with Liam and then they'd find the squid thing. But once we started getting attacked by the big one, it's a wrap for someone. Probably realistically Liam.
I thought you were going to say probably realistically me.
No, Nico, you would live a little bit longer. When we start getting attacked by the medium-sized ones, I think we have enough about us. We have our wits and our fisticuffs, and I would bring a gun. Like, at the start, how
They
like
fucking
Paul
did that
They
in the
did. They
movie.
brought
They
guns,
fucking
yeah.
did that.
Paul brought a gun. Yo, not just Paul. We are all carrying guns. Because I don't know
fucking strapped.
what's about to
a
happen.
couple of them brought guns. Was it Liam? I think Liam did.
It was
Liam and
Liam
Paul brought
and Paul.
guns.
Yeah.
And then
The captain got
it
one at
was
some
like,
point.
did he?
Or somebody,
pretty sure.
somebody gives it to him because that's when he gets like taken. He goes back to go grab the gun.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
I think like somebody gives it to him or something. He didn't.
I
like,
remember
take
the
it himself,
captain.
but-
The captain like shanked one of the
Which
monsters.
was so fucking badass.
But I would have like a harpoon gun though. Like I would be ready.
It
ready
should
to
be
die.
heavy as a motherfucker.
I put it on my back.
Oh,
the
okay.
water would support it.
Oh,
That's
dope.
not at all how that. Okay.
Trying to tell me, are you a physicist, bro?
I am not.
Can we keep in mind I'm the specialist in underwater philosophy? That's my
Underwater philosophy?
Not
Yeah.
not physics.
No, philosophy. So
What the fuck is underwater philosophy?
I think this is water, therefore it is water.
What the fuck is underwater philosophy, dude?
I wrote my my term end paper on is water wet. So
They don't
Shut
teach
the
you that in
fuck
school,
up.
dude.
I swear to God. I get enough of that from my fucking student.
I went to a very special school. So I think we'd all make it to the part with the bridge. And then do you agree that maybe one or two of us would have to die at that bridge scene?
I think we'd probably all die. To be honest,
We're all fucked, bro.
Bro, I ain't gonna lie to you. I would make it to the end, maybe. But like, how like Emily comes back to save Nora? Nico's not coming back to save
Nope.
me.
No, he's not.
I don't think.
Nope.
He's gonna let me die out there. But then
Yep.
joke's on him because Nora and Emily are gonna take off in the 2 escape pods, leaving Nico. And then Nico's gonna blow up the base because he's a little vindictive guy, and he's not about to let Cthulhu just walk away like that.
You are right.
So yeah, there we go. Now, favorite scenes. Nico.
So just the fucking beginning scene, man, like that set the tone for the entire movie. And I was just, I know I've said it before on the episode, but just like, fuck me, that started off with a fucking bang. It was incredible watching how the camera work was, it was so frantic. The lights were going off everywhere. It felt so real. Like at any moment, the pressure could collapse in on everyone and the movie would be over. And it seemed just very genuine. The acting was incredible there. And I felt the tension in the scene where they were deciding whether or not to close the bulkhead. And like, there are certainly other scenes that were more like, have more of a visual flair, but that scene really fucking stuck with me, man.
So my favorite scene, I think, is when the captain kind of gets taken for a second and Nora gets dragged with him. This is when it culminates with the captain dying. That was cool because when the thing stops dragging them for a second, Nora is like on some like platform thing by herself, and like I think the captain's like hanging down there or something, and they're talking to each other, trying to figure out what to do. And then the creature kind of comes back. And I think that's the first time we fully see the creature.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe so.
And kind of going back to what I said earlier about the way they move under the water and everything was really cool. So that was just cool. It wasn't just like flitting off like in the periphery or something, like a quick glance in the light, but it was like you fully see it, and you kind of see it like almost jump around, skip around a little bit to like different parts of the platform, and I just thought that was really cool. And then you kind of see a brief scuffle, and then I think Justin mentioned it before when the captain sacrifices himself, or no, maybe that was Nico.
I think that was Nico.
Yeah, and like blows himself up. I thought that whole scene was pretty cool.
That was also, yeah.
Agreed. My favorite scene. So here's the thing. So I watched this movie for the first time. This is my second viewing for the podcast. And the first time I watched it was I was in a pitch black room with headphones on. That
cool.
adds
I should have done
so much
I believe
to the movie, dude. Like, I know doing that will add a lot to almost any horror movie, but particularly this one and the outside scenes.
Yeah.
Like,
The scenes where you're looking in on Kristen Stewart's helmet, that was so claustrophobic, dude.
Yeah, like it was really dope. And I like just some of my favorite scenes were just like when they first got out and they started walking underwater. And I was like, yo, this is so cool. Cause like I haven't seen any other movie do it this good.
Yeah.
I really haven't. So it was just awesome. And the lurking threat of the monsters was just badass. So that was my favorite scene. But with the good must come the bad. Criticisms. Nico, you lead.
So I think that I'm pretty much going to be echoing what I said earlier. I think that the little hints that there could be or is a cult involved somewhere, I think they could have done more with that. It's not a huge complaint because overall, I really fucking dig this movie and everything in it. But I think that they could have done more with that, perhaps more in the interactions between, the captain and Nora. Maybe she starts to realize that, something is amiss. Apart from that, though, and, TJ Miller playing as TJ Miller, the character, which I don't dislike as much as you guys or as much as you, Justin. Those are really my only two complaints.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go next. I disliked Paul. I didn't like Paul. TJ Miller's character, to be specific, Paul.
Wow.
Is that all?
So that's the major complaints I have, and it kind of overshadows anything else that I would have. I guess for me, the second criticism I'd have is Rodrigo. Oh man, I didn't want to see him die like that. Like, and not even that like dying from pressure isn't like a badass way to go. I almost felt like he didn't even get started. Like, I thought it would have been a little cooler maybe if because he dies and it's hinted that he basically kind of has a little bit of a hero's death. They're rushing to put on suits and get down, and there's not enough time to find a helmet that's perfect. So Rodrigo takes the kind of fucked up one for himself, and it cracks under the pressure, and that's why he implodes from the pressure. But I would have almost liked to have seen him maybe die the same way, but maybe he gets that crack from fighting off one of the monsters or something.
That'd have been cool.
And And then, like, I just wanted him to have more shine. Like, why even have him? Why even have him make it out of the passageway where him and Nora were and go through all that stuff if you're just going to put on your suit and die?
That's almost why I like it, because it was very sudden and very, like, I was not expecting that to happen. And it was like, oh, shit, punch. This is getting real. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, I guess I can see that perspective. I just come from kind of, the underwater philosophy where if you only have 6 characters, because they had like 6 people. So if you have that few, you got to make every death count. And to me, I agree with you. It did serve a purpose. I would have personally, I just wanted to see a little bit more. Plus, I am a little biased. He's from the DMV. I wanted him to get more shine. But yeah. So that's my criticism. Dan, how about you?
I'm going to echo both of your criticisms of Paul, the character Paul. He played like the comedic relief in the movie, and while I didn't mind some of it, I feel like it was a little much at times. I didn't really hate his character or anything, but I can't really criticize much else on this movie. I loved it, so that's got to be my only criticism, I guess.
All right. So let's go ahead now and take a look at the critic reviews. Look at these fucking cowards. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 48% from the critics. It's got a 60% from the audience. Come on, guys. Surely we can do better than that. I'll go ahead and lead off with you, Nico. What do you think? Where would you put this movie? Scale from 1 to 100.
I'm thinking like a solid 88 to a 90. Ooh. Like it's a really fucking good movie. Like even the like cosmic horror themes aside, which avid listeners will know that is like absolutely mine and all of our shit. It's just so fucking visually stunning. And like even the especially the monster design. We talk multiple times in the podcast about how, whenever you can use real shit instead of CG, it's ideal. And I think they really hit the balance between using real stuff and CG in particular with how the water sort of blurs everything. It just makes it that much more realistic and haunting. The only things that I didn't like were, again, Paul, and I think there could have been a stronger core with the cult's involvement. So, yeah, I'm going to give it a fucking 90.
Oh, shit. Well, that's my man shooting high over here. I would probably shoot more around 81, 82 is where I would have it. Dan, how about you?
I totally agree with Nico. I was going to give it a 90 as well, I should say. Like Nico said, the cosmic horror stuff, that's my shit. I love underwater kind of exploration kind of thing and the unknown of the deep sea. Visually, everything was amazing. I loved the crap out of this movie.
This is one that I'm going to be getting in 4K for sure whenever it comes out.
I really liked it as well with, the whole underwater effects, and the visuals were fresh and great to me. So let's go ahead and let's give it the final judgment. Recommend. Dan?
Yes.
Nico?
In a fucking heartbeat.
Justin? Yes. Golden seal of approval. Dan?
Yes.
Nico?
Yes, and I'm real curious to hear what you say.
I debated back and forth. I was originally going to say no, but this movie for me just barely makes its way into Golden Seal of Approval territory. I think for the fast pacing, the fresh visuals, sometimes I can't believe they did what they did.
Yeah.
I had to do it. So yes, so this movie does get the Golden Seal of Approval from the Don't Open That Door cast. Do you guys have any last closing thoughts before we shut this one up?
I hope Kristen Stewart gets more roles because she is unfairly shit on for her involvement in Twilight, and I think she's a great actor.
I do not think quite to the same level that you do. I've watched her in a ton of movies. I think she is unfairly maligned. And yeah, I thought she did well in this movie. Dan, thoughts?
You'll never fucking find me at the bottom of the ocean.
Straight up, my guy. Fucking
and
facts.
That's perhaps the most poignant end we could ever give this podcast. So that's been it here from us at Don't Open That Door. If you like what you hear, please go ahead and check us out. We're on Twitter at DOTD Horror. We're on Instagram under the same name at DOTD Horror. And we're also on Facebook at Don't Open That Door. So that's been it from Nico, Dan, and Jus. Please, everyone, continue to keep yourself safe. We wouldn't really suggest you venture down to the bottom of the ocean. But if you do, please take our advice, ladies and gents. Please don't open that door. Have a nice night.